Hello and welcome to the Thomas Miller Show. My name is Thomas Miller. Thank you for tuning in. You guys got a lot to listen to out there, and I do appreciate you coming back here and listening to the podcast. If you want to send any comments or any questions, you can send them to Thomas Miller at thomasmillershow.com. That's Thomas Miller at thomasmillershow.com. Or you can comment on my YouTube channel, my True Social, or my Twitter. I'll put a link to all of that in the description box below. And for those who are on Podbean, that's where the show lives. That's the origination of the show. So if you have a Podbean account, or even if you don't, you can go to Podbean and search Thomas Miller Show. Of course, that link will be in the description as well. And for those who don't have Podbean and you want to share the show, please share via YouTube. There's no video, there's no copyright infringements because it's audio. And a little secret out there, YouTube is still working on audio copyright infringement. They haven't gotten there yet, so it's all video. But anyway, go there. I digress. Again, welcome to the show. This show is going to be a little bit different today. It's going to gear more towards prepping, and this is one of the signs why you should prep. And I'm going to cover all these in future podcasts in detail, but for right now, I'm going to focus on the farming aspect of prepping and the food shortages that are taking place right now. So there's no surprise if you've been following any type of prepping channel or any type of prepping podcast that there is a food shortage happening. You're saying, wait a minute, Thomas, but when I go to the market, there's a lot of food in the market. Yes, for right now, because a lot of this food, especially canned food, dry food, is from last year's harvest. This year's harvest is pretty much done. If you go and do your own personal research, which I highly suggest that you do, don't ever take someone's word on a situation, not mine or anybody else's. Do your own research, investigate this stuff, and find out what you can do. So there is a food shortage going on, and it's because of several different reasons. Of course, and I know you're tired of hearing this, but because I am too, it's the war in Ukraine, which affects fertilizer, wheat, oil, and all of that plays into a factor because you need all of those things to produce crops here in the U.S. And there is a drought going on as well. One of the biggest droughts that we've ever experienced. And because we're not doing our research and we're not looking into this on a personal level, you're not noticing it. Because yes, you can go to Costco, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Vons, Albertsons, you can go to all these places, and there's water stocked. You turn on your faucet and there's water coming out of the faucet. However, those levels are dropping. And what do we need to produce food? We need water. And there's a drought going on in the Midwest. You can do some research on your own. In fact, I will put in a couple of videos of reputable sources that verify this. But anyway, going back to the main topic at hand today, and it's about this Amish farmer who has been raided by the feds. The feds have raided a Amish farmer for selling non-USDA products, farming products, and meat products. And they raided this guy's farm with guns drawn, everything, because he's been selling produce and selling meat products from his farm, and now they have raided it. Why is this significant? Because this is just a long line of things what they're trying to do. When I say they, I'm talking about that secret society that want to control how we think, how we live, what we eat, and how we interact with each other. There's no secret that Bill Gates has bought up a lot of farmland, as well as China. They've purchased a lot of farmland. Why? In my humble opinion, it's to control the food production, to make you more dependent upon Big Brother. I'm going to use the term, and that's, Thomas, you've got that tinfoil hat on a little too tight. Just loosen it up a little bit. I will not. These things, you need to be paying attention of what's going on around you. Just because you can go to a restaurant, even though it's expensive, you can go to a restaurant, you can go to the market right now, and you can pick up food. That's only going to last a little bit of time here. So this Amish farmer gets raided, and he has to pay something like $250,000 in fines, or else he's going to face jail time. All this is because he's organically raising non-USDA compliant foods. Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, that's great because it's not regulated, and so he shouldn't be selling it. Here's where it gets tricky. Because back in the day when we were farmers, hunter-gatherers, when we were providing for our families on a primal level, there was no food compliance. There was no USDA. When people were farming, they farm organically. There was no other way to farm but organically, and they sold these products to their friends and their neighbors, sometimes to other towns, and it wasn't regulated by the USDA. Now this is a catch-22 because as farm productions got bigger, there are going to be people that are not going to do the right thing. There are farmers who may not practice safe handling, proper feeding, proper treatment of the animals, meaning food, shelter, and protection. They may not get their feeding them well, which causes them to become sick, and they're still selling that meat or that milk, and it's infected with disease and sickness. So I understand how the USDA would step in and take a look at it and go, hey, this is not right. You need to have better practices. Now, the reason why I always want to say Amish. It's coming out Amish. The reason why this Amish farmer said that he chose not to go through the USDA, because the USDA will make him put hormones and antibiotics, which will actually hurt the quality of the meat. And because he's a small farmer compared to the mega farms that are out there producing this is not a dig towards the mega farmer. So please don't send me emails saying, Thomas, you're trying to speak against the bigger farms out there and that are doing this. Hey, you do you, boo. Anyway, so he chose not to go that route because they would have him do all of this weird stuff to the meat and to the products, and he feels that, God will take care of it. God will feed the animals the proper way, and also take care of the agriculture part of it. I'm just going to do my part and be a good farmer to the best that I can be. And for the most part, I think we all can agree that Amish farmers, they're pretty good farmers. Like right now, honestly, if there was an Amish farm within my radius to where I could have a choice to go purchase from, I would go purchase from an Amish farmer. As far as I know, they're pretty honest people, God-fearing people. They work very hard. They don't rely on modern technologies as much as, say, the next farm does. And so it's pretty clean products. So I would go purchase from an Amish farmer. So the feds raid him, put all of this restrictions on him, and tell him he's got to pay X amount of dollars or he could face jail time. Here's where it gets tricky. If the USDA wanted to take a look at this objectively and every case by case basis, maybe they could say, well, let me just check your facilities because you are, quote, organic. So just by that alone, we're gonna take and look, make sure that it's clean, make sure it's run really well, make sure the animals are taken care of, and just to make sure that everything is working good, that there's no violations on on a cleanliness, humane level. And if those things are good, then yes, you can operate under the stamp of organic. But no, this is not what they did. They really ultimately want to shut him down. This is what I honestly believe, to contribute to the shortage of food, which is already upon us. Now, I'll put a link to a couple videos about this story in the description box below. Now, this takes me to the prepping part of today's podcast. You need to prepare for this. There's already documented water shortage. There's already documented fertilizer shortage, grain shortage. We're still having shipment issues here and there. And big corporations and private investors such as Bill Gates are buying up all the farmland. This is not a coincidence. So right now, while you can, you need to start prepping. Start building up your water supply. Start building up your food supply. If you can, which I highly suggest, start working on your agricultural game, your small farming game, meaning grow some plants. If you're able to raise a couple of chickens, do so. Chickens, you get meat and you get eggs. Do that. If you can go one step further and maybe you can, raise a pig, do that. Here's my point. Start prepping. And start prepping beyond just having the market as your food source. Start planting your own food. Learn how to can. Learn how to freeze dry. Dry. Make jerky. Whatever you need to do. You need to start doing that. Because this is not going to go away. And if I can get biblical for a second. The Bible talks about this. The Bible talks about food famine, disease, pestilence, water. In fact, in Revelation, the water is going to turn to blood. Now but it won't touch God's people. But anyway, I don't want to digress. Let me come back. Bring it back, Thomas. Bring it back. The point is, you need to start prepping. Build yourself a water catching system. It doesn't have to be big. Start catching the water that comes from the air that God provides us. Now, I live in Southern California and it doesn't rain that much in Southern California, but I haven't gotten one now, but I am designing my own water catching containment system. Do that. I have started a garden and I've got tomatoes, squash, cantaloupe, green beans, onions, and radishes. I'm going to plant my first potato crop, or my first potato crop here pretty soon. And then I'm going to grow a couple ears of corn. It doesn't have to be big, but do something. Do something if you can. If you don't have the space, I have a small little space because I live in Southern California, so land is very scarce. But I do have enough to grow those few little crops. Plant yourself a tree that will produce. I'm also working on a peach tree and an avocado tree. Now I've listed all of those plants. I don't have a lot of space, but I have created a couple of above ground gardens, and I'm utilizing 5-gallon buckets, and I'm utilizing a couple of planters. You know, those little oversized pots you can pick up at Home Depot. All this stuff is relatively cheap. Now, will you have to put in some labor? Absolutely. You're going to have to put in some labor, which is fine. And I'm finding that it's more and more satisfying. I can't wait to work on my garden today. But these are the things that you need to do. If you don't have a water catching system, then every time you go to Costco or your favorite market or Sam's Club, whatever, I don't care, pick up some water. Store it in a cool, dry place if you can. If you say, Thomas, I don't have a lot of room, store what you can. The bottom line is most of us collect so much useless crap that we can create a space for life-saving items such as water, pasta, beans, rice. If you're able to do it, grab those MREs, grab that long-term food products, but do something. Get yourself a backup battery supply. I have 2 of them that will power. I have one that will power my refrigerator for 24 hours on one charge. However, I have the capability to add solar panels to it. So now it can constantly keep my refrigerator going when the grid goes down. And that did happen the past week. It was down for something like 30 or 40 minutes, completely down. And it's because California is doing these rolling brownouts or blackouts, whatever you want to call it. There's no power coming to your home. Get yourself a battery. If you can't afford a whole home system, which I cannot afford right now, I'm looking at different options, then get the power you can afford. Get a couple of those battery backups and get a solar panel or 2. Utilize the sun. My point is, start prepping. Now, this is going to get worse. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to get worse. The question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and let all of these things happen and you don't even prepare? At the very least, prepare for you or you and your family to have at least a 3-day supply. 3 days of power. Make sure you have plenty of batteries for lights. Make sure you get a couple of those compact phone, those power banks. Get you a couple of power banks. And if you can invest in a bigger power, do it. Blue Yeti makes a great one. Goal Zero makes a great one. Jackery makes a great one. I have a Duracell backup battery. I own a Duracell and I own a Goal Zero. And I'm going to purchase another Goal Zero. In fact, I might get the Goal Zero where you can have it plugged directly into your circuit if the power goes down. So you can plug it right into your circuit, your home circuit box, and you can power you can power your lights and a couple other appliances. I'm looking into that because it is expensive. Last time I looked, I was looking at a Tesla system. It's something like $30,000. I ain't got $30,000. I'm just a humble podcaster. But I can afford other backup batteries that will do the job of keeping the food cold and giving us lights. So yeah. So I think I'm gonna wrap up today's podcast there. But I'll put the links to a lot of stuff that I was talking about. I may have to go back and listen to my own podcast and make sure I get the information that you need down below. But yes, the feds have raided an Amish farmer. And this is not a coincidence. There's other things that have been happening to where you've had food supply warehouses go up in flames. A number of this stuff happening because it's contributing to the food shortage. And if you don't believe this, again, don't take my word for it. Go look at this stuff. Right now, the internet is still free to go get information. Eventually, that will stop. I can almost guarantee that will stop. Because it is getting harder to find information out there, because all of these sites, when you want to go to a news article or something, you want to read it, they want to make you pay first. Well, you got to pay for the news first, which is also a red flag. Anyway, I don't want to go down a rabbit trail with you. I will cover these topics on upcoming podcasts. If you like the podcast, please share it with your friends. Point them to Podbean or point them to my YouTube channel. Like I said, I share the links on Twitter and True Social. I'm trying to make it to where everyone can listen to this. I want to say thank you to the supporter out there that has supported the show already. I'm working on ways to where you can support, but in the meantime, I will put a link down to the Next Plane Media Venmo account, and everything you give, this is so weird, I can't even believe I'm talking like this. Everything you give goes right back into the show to make the show better. But anyway, thank you again for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, night, evening.